Chris is not feeling well, and I haven't heard from Phil at all, so I suppose it's just me tonight. And that is absolutely A-okay, let me tell you. Hopefully, we can get through this night without any serious hiccups. And, just read out the news stories. It'll be a short show, that's for sure. I mean, sorry, but it'll just be a short show. There's nothing else to it. So if you as always, please head on over to YouTube.com/Parabreakdown to hear from Phil, and going over to YouTube, the Fortean Slip, to hear from Chris. If you enjoy the Fortean Slip or Parabreakdown, you may enjoy the badly drawn misadventures of two Bigfoot. Head on over to Bigfooting with Keith N Collin, where next week Keith will be attempting to curb Colin's addiction to wacky adventures. Should be a good week. Without further ado, let's just get into it. I am your host, Richard Allen, and our first story comes from WPKO.com, and it is, of course, the story that has been passed around in many places this week, which is the gunfire story. A weekend camping trip to Back County at Mammoth Cave National Park quickly took a dramatic turn for one couple. They were woken up in the middle of the night to strange noises and were met with an individual saying that something had destroyed their campsite. Brad Ginn, one of the campers, said the individual also said it was Bigfoot country, when it seemed a little weird that he would say that. The individual then informed them that he was searching for whatever destroyed his campsite and warned them to be careful. Madeline Durand, a camper, he said, "I hope you have weapons," and then he flashed his gun at us and was like, "I have this, so if anything happens to you, then just yell and I'll come." The couple then decided to head back to their tent, but moments later they heard gunshots, then dialed 911 and hiked 5 miles back to their car in the parking lot to meet up with the park rangers. Mammoth Cave Public Information Officer Molly Schrewer stated Mammoth Cave National Park law enforcement rangers responded to a reporting of an individual with a firearm in one of our backcountry campsites in the early morning hours of Sunday, July 28th. The Rangers have made contact with all the parties involved and is an ongoing investigation at this time. Mammoth Cave would like public to know that there are not any ongoing threats to the park and it is safe to visit. This isn't probably one of the more detailed stories. However, I've complained on this show before about the EU blocking me from accessing most American news sites. So that is one of the few news organizations I could actually get a part of. But that is the news that somebody was apparently shooting at Bigfoot last weekend. So nobody was hurt as far as I could tell. And that's an interesting story. I mean, don't hear about, hunters dressing up in ghillie suits getting shot because other people think they're Bigfoots. But you don't often hear stories where someone just randomly shoots into the air. So a weird one, that. Hope everyone's safe. Our next story comes from Phil Pulling. It's from Parabreakdown. It is a 3-minute 33 video of what appears to be a black blob walking across the screen. First, Phil gives us some basic info about the channel, Curtis Maychew. There's nothing in the way of backstory. He knows that there's heavy machinery sounding nearby. He's got no idea where the video was taken, other than he can see that it is high above high tension lines. Subject is quite a way off. The video was captured by a cell phone, so it's obviously low quality. The video begins before the subject is seen. Phil speculates this is because the person recording it had already seen it and pulled out his phone to record it. Because of the distance and terrain, he doesn't believe it was a work crew member or a friend. Phil suspects it to be a person, was Phil Pulling's eventual decision. This is accessible either by YouTube, Parabreakdown, or from the Squatchable main website, which is my sister site, I guess. So yeah, that's it. A Phil Pulling Parabreakdown video. Always good to see Phil back. Apparently his monetization has been restored because he's been posting like crazy this week. And we all enjoy Parabreakdown's videos, and glad to see him back. Our next story comes from Matt Squatch, again from Squatchable, because it's one of the few sites that the EU isn't banning me from currently. And yes, I am incredibly bitter about that. But I digress. This is a 14-minute to 25-second video on the subject, should one be taken for science? Now, this is an old question in the Bigfoot world, obviously. Should a Bigfoot be killed for the sake of science? Matt Squash discusses the moral, legal, and practical sides of the idea. He starts by saying that whatever the viewer feels, he supports, but strongly advises caution. Well, obviously, and he goes into that later in the show. But yeah, he's on your side, whether you're pro-kill or pro-find. He's happy to support you, riding the fence. But, it's difficult to take a stand these days. It's a position. It's something that people in the Bigfoot community feel very strongly about, the kill versus no-kill argument. He doesn't think people would kill them for sport, but then he immediately contradicts himself by saying he thinks a small number of people would. He believes that someone would shoot one for ecological protection or even money or in self-defense, are the reasons he says. A moral argument against killing one is that are they human or are they animal, which obviously opens up legal ramifications if they are human beings, or close to human. Practical argument is that you don't know what it'll take to kill a Sasquatch, which is a fair point. I mean, what would you take to kill one? Legally, the federal government has an Undiscovered Species Act, a native species that's undiscovered, and if you shoot one, you can be fined $250,000 or even 10 years in jail. He goes over the personal danger. It could be a large group. They could be living in a large group. And if you shoot one, you could be attacked. Well, the Battle of Ape Canyon, that's a well-known Bigfoot story. That's what happened there. A miner shot a Bigfoot and then was attacked by the rest of the clan. Government retaliation. It is well known that there is some agency that suppresses the knowledge of Bigfoot, apparently, according to Matt Squatch anyway. This is his theory, that the Bigfoot is covered up by either the Men in Black or, some other organization. And he reckons if you were to shoot one, you may be putting yourself in danger. Public ridicule. Hunters are becoming reviled throughout the United States, and people have a problem with them. If you shot a Bigfoot, either for sport or for science, you may be opening yourself up to Twitter people being they're offended by it. Closes the video saying that he doesn't support killing one, but he understands that from a scientific point of view, we need a type specimen in order to study them accurately, which I feel is a fair point. It is 14 minutes, 25 seconds. I haven't said it yet, but if you enjoy any of the stories, the links are in the description. This one was posted on the Squatchable website. Again, one of the few websites the EU isn't blocking. And again, I am totally bitter about that. So our next story comes again from Squatchable. It is a short video about a woman who was hearing strange noises from outside and recorded them on her cell phone, I believe. It's 55 seconds long. And it's a woman recording sounds. It sounds like a dog to me. Oh, let me just knock that one over. And it sounds like a canine to me. The link is in the description. Give it a listen. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm thinking dog or wolf. Doesn't sound like a coyote. I lived in America for some time. Used to have coyotes howling down by the creek. Didn't sound like that. They do make some weird noises, though. So that's interesting. And our final story of the night comes from Bigfoot Tony. Yes, Bigfoot Tony is back. I started this podcast by posting a lot of his videos. I'm a big fan of his breakdowning. This is a very short one by Bigfoot Tony standards, but a long one by Parabreakdown standards. It's 4 minutes, 45 seconds. Bigfoot Tony apologizes and says for his absence, says he's coming back now and he's going to be posting more stuff, which is hooray. It's not a very long Bigfoot video. He complains about the blurriness of it. It says there's not much there, but Bigfoot Tony does like it. And what he likes about it is the way the subject runs. Yes, it could be a human, but he feels it's running too fast and in a very interesting way to be a human being. He posts his stabilization and enhancement, pointing out where he believes the footfalls are landing, pointing out that the creature is taking very large steps, and it does seem to know the terrain very well. Bigfoot Tony finishes his video by assuring us he is still here and still alive, and we should wait to see more content from him in the future. Now, I enjoy Bigfoot Tony. I don't care if you do or don't. I am a fan of his, and I'm glad to hear that he will be posting again. I look forward very much to his videos. And, well, that'll wrap us up for this week. It doesn't take very long when I'm the only one here. I believe Chris is doing the Min Night Lights tomorrow night on the Fortean Slip. That's an Australian phenomenon, for those of you who don't know. So go on over to YouTube, the Fortean Slip, to listen to that. That's always a good laugh. Him, Matt, and Steve, and their new producer, Katie, definitely a good laugh. I believe Phil will be releasing newer and newer videos. So, stay tuned to his channel. I believe Matt Nat would still like to hear from you if you have a paranormal or Bigfoot encounter story. You can get in contact with him at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. That'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many, and hopefully with more co-hosts. I was your host, Richard Allen, saying good night. Good night.